So how hard would it be to blow up one of the reactors at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in Ukraine, the way that Chernobyl blew up? Well, the answer is it's very hard. First of all, these are different design from the Chernobyl reactor at many different levels. It's a far safer design. It has a containment, reinforced concrete containment, which Chernobyl didn't. Chernobyl just had this graphite around it, wall, which caught fire and contributed to the explosion that blew the top off of Chernobyl. That could never happen in Zaporizhzhia. It has a lot of fire suppressant equipment. It has hydrogen recombiners, so you don't have the hydrogen explosion that happened at Fukushima. All these are lessons. It takes into account all the lessons that we've learned from Chernobyl and from Fukushima. So this is probably one of the safest reactors around. So it would be very hard for things to really get out of control. Even harder is all the reactors are now in cool shutdown. They've been put on standby shutdown. I think the last one was on June the 10th of 2023 this year. And so even if you cut off the power to the reactor, because for some reason I won't go into, it's too complicated, you need outside power source from the power grid to keep the reactor cooling system going. So even if that went, somebody blew up the power lines coming in or drain the cooling pond, what's left of the water, the cooling pond, it would still take weeks for this thing to melt down. And because it's in cold shut down there, on standby, and not running hot, there would be very little, if any, radiation release unless somehow you're able to breach the containment. That may be a slow meltdown. There are probably things you could do to control it, but putting in boron and other things, pouring it into the core there to cool it off and stop the reaction because there's almost no reaction going on right now. So, okay, well, can we slam a jet plane into it? Yes, yeah, or a big giant drone or big anti-ship missile. Well, the Germans did some tests way back when they took a old surplus F-4 fighter plane and rammed it into a reinforced concrete wall of the same thickness they use in their containment structures in the German reactor systems. It did at 500 miles an hour or 800 kilometers an hour, depending where you are in the world. It did not penetrate. The wall flexed. A good chunk of it was blown loose, but it did not penetrate. So, and that's the truth. These things are the containment things are designed to take a crash from the airplane and shrug it off. And even if it had penetrated the outer containment, there's still an inner containment too. So it'd be very difficult to have a large scale radioactive release the way Chernobyl had a large scale radioactive release. That's the fact. I mean, there's plenty of evidence on that. I'll point you some sources in the comments. So they say, well, how about these big anti-ship missiles? I mean, they have all these big leftover anti-ship missiles from the Soviet days when they are used designed to try to take out American carriers. Things with that have been aptly named like shipwreck. Well, one of those things hits. Well, it's got about over 3,000 pounds of explosives on. Oh, no more than 1,500 pounds of explosives on it. Pardon, I stand corrected. Um, and of course, the velocity of the missile itself, maybe could, but probably not. But also, it's vulnerable to being shot down by air defenses. Okay, so I guess you could always put plant charges on the roof, shaped charges, and try to blow a hole through that. You could, but it would be up on satellites. It'd be blindingly obvious whose side did that, anyways. So the odds of it being destroyed to the point that you have a catastrophic radiation release is very, very, very slim. You may have a limited radiation release similar to Fukushima, but it would not be another Chernobyl. So why is everybody screaming, oh, the Russians are going to blow up this reactor or the Ukrainians are going to blow up this reactor, depending on whether you're looking for the Russians pointing the finger at the Ukrainians or the Ukrainians pointing the finger at Russia and the various fanboys on both sides pointing fingers at each other. Well, politics. They want fear, fright. The Ukraine on the Ukrainian side, they need to make sure that people still support the war and support funding their defense against Russia. So they want to get everybody all in a tizzy over that. Oh, we got to stop the evil Russians from doing it. And the Russians, I guess, they also have to, support, bolster the support for the war on their side within the local domestic population, as well as their, friendly nations like China and India and other neutral nations and stuff like keep them. So, gee, yeah, these guys are going to do that. And also as a cover your butt. So if it does happen to say, well, it was the other side. See, we told you all the time the other side was going to do that. And then everybody can point fingers at one another. So that's the big thing. It's all around politics and playing it and trying to, uh, you know, rally the troops on both sides, so to speak. But I could happen. I pray it doesn't happen, but it won't be as bad as Chernobyl. So that's my thoughts on that. And then I'll do what happens if it does. Video. I mean, if somebody manages to rupture that thing, what are the political consequences thereof? We'll talk about that in another video.